that's nearly a wider discussion, actually, to talk about, the kind of skills we want to keep and the kind of skills we want to learn, and identifying which skills are becoming commodities or have become commodities already, which are automated. It's a really great question. But again, just to maybe go yet again back on the feedback part, because the feedback part, regardless of the skills needed in the future, there's something very, very crucial here. And when I look at the military, for example, you have after action review, where you have a particular format of feedback where the rank doesn't matter and everyone can speak out what's good, what's bad, and then actions are defined based on that. I see the same in Agile. So we have transformation project. Agile is often a methodology to be used where you have stand-ups and sprint reviews where you do the same thing. You review what worked and what didn't, openly discuss it, and openly take actions on it. And it's been the same with my background as a designer. In design, you would do a design crit where a bunch of people look at what someone has done and then discuss it from various different angles and improve. So there's a lot of different areas and practices where these methodologies have been already acknowledged. So maybe my question is, how can we help organizations understand that value a bit better? And is there some issue with the current managerial hierarchy that often suppresses that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question because you have identified one of the big problems in, I would venture to say, most large organizations and maybe most small organizations too. And that is the absence of frequent, rigorous, honest feedback. As we've just been discussing, no one gets any better if they don't get good feedback. And we all know that the way it used to be done in a lot of organizations was you'd have an annual evaluation or an annual review. Well, that's nearly useless. I mean, finding out, being told that what you did, something you did 11 months previously, could have been done better some other way is of very little use. And there's a bigger, so I mean, that was a lousy practice, but there's an even bigger problem, and that is in many organizations, the culture is such that frequent, rigorous, honest feedback just isn't okay. It isn't done. And no one, frequently anyway, no one has the courage to violate the norms of the culture and to start giving frequent, rigorous, honest feedback when it just isn't done. And in fact, there are examples of people who come into an organization and decide to do that anyway. They're going to be honest and frequent, and everybody freaks out. They don't know what to make of this. And what's so important to remember is that often the reason people don't give frequent, rigorous, honest feedback, which obviously often means negative feedback, is that they think it's kinder, it's more humane not to do it. But the minute you say that out loud, you realize that, of course, it's the opposite of the truth. It's not kind or humane to tell people that they're doing a fine job when they're not.
But can I jump in?
Yeah, please do.
Tell me, what is at risk? What is it that people are afraid of that prevents them from doing it? It's not, in my opinion, that it's not a humane thing to do, that it's not nice. They're afraid of something. They're afraid of blowback. They're afraid of breaking relationships. Most people are not doing something out of fear. They may put a pretty bow on it. They may call it, oh, it's not a very humane thing to do. But I think that there's something else. We are such a risk-averse business culture that people are always assessing, what's the risk if I do this? What's the risk if I do nothing?
Yep. That sounds right on the money to me. And people are afraid. It's certainly true that fear drives a huge proportion of all behavior. We know that that's a recipe for bad performance. And yet, I think for exactly the reasons you say, most people persist in sticking with the norms of the culture.
It's also a recipe for mediocrity.
Yes, guaranteed. Guaranteed.